Welcome to Women of a Certain Stage, the podcast redefining how we think about menopause. I'm your host, Lauren Churin, a passionate advocate for breaking the stigma and empowering individuals to navigate this transformational stage of life with confidence and clarity. Here, we're diving into a new era of menopause support, featuring expert advice, real-life stories, and actionable insights. Whether you're curious about building your personal menopause plan or you're looking to make an impact, you're in the right place. Let's embrace the change together. Chris, it is so great to see you, and I'm actually really excited about this conversation because we've known each other a while. We've studied together, we've been building our businesses together, we've got a lot of similarities in our journey, lots of ups and downs. Mm-hmm. And as I have been, training people to become menopause coaches, having you as part of that program obviously is invaluable. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I think the key thing about being able to share the fact that building a business is not linear. Mm-hmm. And it's not a straightforward journey. And you don't get the information in most courses when you're training to be a coach, an A, B, C coach. It doesn't have to be a menopause coach. It could be a health coach. It could be a life coach or any type of coach.
Massage therapist, yoga teacher,
right?
Energy worker, any of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're two different skill sets. And this is what I say to people before they come on the menopause coach program, is that there's one skill set to train to become a menopause coach. And there's another skill set to become a business owner, an entrepreneur. And it's a different mindset. It's it's an entirely different ballgame. And that's why, obviously, having known each other for such a long time, it was such a great honor to have you come on the program. But let's just take back. Can you remember when we first actually met?
Oh my gosh, well, we were in BHC, which was when you and I were both studying to become a health coach. And I know that we were an accountability partner at some point in there. Mm-hmm.
And then we were in Mastery together?
Yep. Yeah, we did BHC, we did Mastery, we've done a lot. I'm like, I don't know, where have we not? Like, have we not ever been on this journey together?
Yeah. And, often I say to people, in the second last module, Chris Williams comes along, she's an amazing 7-figure business coach, and we've been on this journey and, at different points, our businesses have been nudged ahead of each other. And it's like, how did you do that? And how did you do that? And, it's just been this crazy journey over the last 10 years. Crazy journey.
Can you believe it's been 10 years? Okay, that's like a little insane to me.
And you've now been a New York, what's the expression I'm looking for? A New York Times bestselling author? Yeah.
Well, not New York Times, but I was in Times Square. Yes.
Times Square,
yeah,
okay.
Yes, I would love to say I'm a New York Times bestseller. Not there yet. But yeah, we were featured. The book the Soulful Abundance System was featured in Times Square, and that was really exciting to be featured there and be in the middle of New York City and people that you didn't even know like cheering for you. And I'm like, oh,
the pictures were amazing. Yeah, anyone that's listening back to this, you'll get all Chris's socials at the end, but definitely go and check out her socials and see the pictures of that experience. And these are things I don't think either of us even dreamed of when we've started in this journey.
Totally. Oh my gosh, I was just thinking about that. When you said, where did we first meet? Because I remember you and I going back and forth with, I don't know, can we charge $9.97 for a 12-week program? It seems like a lot. Like, I don't like going back and forth. Like, should we charge for this? Should we not charge for? Like, it just trying to navigate the whole building a business world, which I think we did a pretty darn good job, given that we weren't really taught how to do it. Like, thank God we had each other, and you worked with coaches and I worked with other business coaches. Yeah. We would get back together and, check in with each other a couple times a year. But yeah, it's been kind of crazy.
Yeah, and just before we dive properly into the chat and really showcasing your expertise today, I remember arriving in Arizona, and I was going to say Phoenix, but it was Tucson, wasn't it?
You know what? I think it was Phoenix. I think you're right.
Was it Phoenix?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
I can't remember now. Anyway,
I'm thinking it was Phoenix because that's just kind of what pops in my head, but it very well could have been
Yeah,
Tucson.
we room shared for this event, and it was hysterical because you got there before me and I got there in really late at night. I'd taken an Uber from the airport to the event, and I kind of crept into the room and you were fast asleep, and I was like trying to be really, really quiet, and I can't remember, but I think I dropped my Apple Watch and it was a ceramic floor and the watch smashed all over the place, and all I could
No.
remember was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to wake Chris up. I don't want to wake Chris up. But it was so good to, having been online back and forth with each other
Mhm.
for all that time, to then meet in person.
Yeah,
And I think there's something really magical, much as we do so much work online now, there is still something really special about in-person events. And
absolutely.
I think, that's the kind of kickoff point, I think, for our conversation today, because it's all about relationships,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yep.
Everything that
Yeah.
we do is about relationships.
Everything. Yep.
And
And
tell
thank
me,
God I had you there because I went through a very difficult time, like major anxiety with
yeah,
some things that was happening with my family and my children, and literally knocked me out, like put me in bed for like a
yeah,
whole day. And I
yeah.
was just grateful to have your comforting presence to be like, all right, we're going to get through this piece.
I know,
And I
it's
was
so
going through menopause at the time too. So
yes.
hello, anxiety coming and smacking me up inside the head. I mean, like,
It was an eventful event.
it was a lot. Yeah.
But that's what's important, isn't it? Because
Hmm.
we don't wake up in the morning and we're business owners.
Hmm.
We wake up in the morning and we're wearing all the hats, we're wearing all the
Hmm.
things. So
Hmm.
talk to me a little bit about when, because we both have the massage background, the bodywork
Hmm.
background, and we've got all of that. And, I was in personal training, you had the yoga, we've
Hmm.
both got very similar backgrounds in the kind of human
Hmm.
performance aspect. But when did you make the switch from kind of the health side of things, health and wellness side, to going, no, I'm better placed to support people by helping them build their businesses? How did that
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah. That's such a great question. So it actually wasn't even a conscious decision because I was building and growing my health coaching practice. I had my massage therapy, my nutritional therapy, my health coaching that was going well. And it wasn't until people started reaching out to me, colleagues that you and I both have known or different
Mhm.
people. They're like, well, what are you doing? Like, well, how are you doing this? And
Mhm.
that I began to just kind of share some of the pieces that I was doing just because I enjoy sharing. I enjoy like, absolutely happy to like
Mhm.
full transparency. This is what I'm doing. This is what's worked. This is what didn't work. This is how I've approached this doctor. I was really doing a lot of collaboration work at that
Mhm.
time, which again is built all on
Yeah.
relationships,
Yeah.
which was the foundation of my business. And so when people started asking me to share, I remember specifically, I think I had posted something in one of our groups saying, hey guys, if you want to know like what I'm doing for collaborating, just let me know. I'm happy to do like a live and share like how I'm
Mhm.
collaborating with doctors and health practitioners and things like that. And I probably had about 150
Oof.
messages saying me, 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 me. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I just taught it. I just shared it. I wasn't even in the business coaching world at that time. And
Mhm.
I remember after I shared that, I went away on retreat to the Well of Mercy. It's been my
Yeah.
happy place, getting away every quarter to just kind of step back and have some time to breathe and think and
Mhm.
be in the creative space. And I remember thinking, you know what, why don't you just teach that and then give the program, that you've created, which at that point was the Launch Well program. That was the
Mhm.
very first kind of business coaching
Yeah.
piece that I did, where I just white labeled the exact
Mhm.
program that I was using with my clients so that
Mhm.
other health coaches could use it, have it.
Mhm.
Um, and it was just like, it was such a success. It like sold out in 48 hours. And I was like, okay, now I'm really confused. I remember going to my business coach. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought I was helping this type of client here in health coaching. And now all of these people are coming to here asking me to help them grow their business. I'm like, I'm so confused. And I remember she just said to me, I really don't see a problem. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Mm.
So it just organically morphed into that direction. And I began to see how many things that were just missing from
Yeah.
our basic programs. I
Mhm.
mean, and so I just had it on my heart to really want people to get up and running a lot quicker
Yeah.
than I did, and to have the pieces that I knew were critical that weren't being taught.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just began to follow my heart in that direction. And as life happens, I ended up having a shoulder injury, repetitive stress syndrome, had to
Mm-hmm.
close down my massage therapy practice. So that got closed down. And then it just kind of morphed into, what I get to have now. And I'm so, so happy, so grateful to be able to really make more impact in the world, because if another menopause coach is succeeding, that means we're touching so many women more globally
Yeah,
than what I would have been able to do just on my own here in, the Charlotte, North
exactly.
Carolina area.
Yeah, and I think having you come in and do the, very heart-led feminine,
Hmm.
but very focused, very
Hmm.
driven. I think people
Hmm.
sometimes can misunderstand a feminine approach or a heart-led
Yeah.
approach as being soft and woo, and
Yeah.
it's not. It's it's
Mm-mm.
it's about tapping into who we really are. It's using,
Hmm.
for so many people we both work with, we've lived in that very male dominated environment. We've got that very masculine energy that's very push, 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 push all the time. And I think that when I first invited you into the Become a Menopause Coach program to do that module, and I listened to you and I watched you, and I learned something every time you do it, right? But the first time you did it, I sat back and I went, whoa. It just gave me tingles because it was so powerful, talking about the touch points, talking about the journey, talking about the evolution of building that know, like, and trust with people before
Hmm.
they're ready to buy from
Yeah.
you. And I think that the basics are so obvious once you know them,
Hmm.
but it's just not taught. It's just
No,
not taught.
it's not. And I don't know why, other than people are just teaching a really outdated method.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's, when I look back, I'm like, and when I decided to change from what it was that, I was taught, again, the way that I was, again, the programs that we went through were amazing. Were teaching us the
Hmm.
craft. It was absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic. I would totally do that again.
Yeah.
And what they don't teach you is that there's a time and a place to actually use some of the tools. And so it
Yeah.
was kind of like, trying to use a hammer when you needed a screwdriver. And so
Hmm.
if you're not using the right tool at the right time, it's not going to work. And so, the tool that I was, taught was just didn't feel right to me. I followed my intuition on that. And I was like, yeah, it actually wasn't right. It was
Hmm.
the wrong tool to use at the right time. It's
Yeah.
not that having conversations, one-on-one conversations is never happens. It does happen. It just doesn't happen in the beginning.
Yeah.
Just doesn't happen at, at the, inviting somebody to work with you or trying
Hmm.
to sell them in a 1 hour conversation right from the beginning is actually backwards.
Can you imagine actually offering a 1 hour conversation now?
I don't offer a 1 hour
No, but
conversation. No,
can you
no, no.
imagine doing that now?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh no, no, no. Oh no, no. And that's the beauty of, the Soulful Abundance system that I teach, is that you don't have to try to convince or persuade or sell somebody in a 1 hour conversation. You don't even need to have 1 hour conversations if they're, unless you're offering that to a current client, right?
Hmm.
Because by the time they get to having a conversation with you, they already know you, they already like you, they already feel safe with you, they know your body of work. And so the only reason why they're on the call with you is to explore what are some of the options in
Yeah.
order to have your support. So
Yeah.
it's not like you've got to sell them on you or you've got to sell them on anything. You just get to
Mhm.
listen and hear and then match them to, what is going to be the level of support that helps them get the transformation and the timeline that they're looking for.
Yeah, yeah, that's so important for people to understand that as well. And I think likewise, I was taught the same method
Mm-hmm.
to attract people into that hour-long call. And they were fun calls. You gave a
Mm-hmm.
lot of value in those calls and gave away a lot in those calls as well.
Mm-hmm.
People go,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I've got a solution now. I can go away. I don't need to do, the
Mm-hmm.
program or the course or whatever. And then of course they look back round as they're building their know, like, and trust in a different way.
Yep. Yep.
And yeah, so there's definitely there's no right way to build business. There's a right
Mm-hmm.
way for the individual that's building the business. I always say that to people. But I think that there's the journey and the process that you use, what underpins that, the architecture that underpins it, is so powerful. And you
Mm-hmm.
can apply it in so many different ways. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
things I see, and definitely one of the things that happened to my business last year, was that I brought in a fractional marketing director, and there was a massive push on ads, a massive push. The business was doing really well. We were looking to scale, way
Mm-hmm.
beyond where we were at that point. I was like, let's go for the ads, let's go for the ads.
Yeah.
And ads felt, there was something inside me that just said, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Something didn't feel quite right. But, you're paying someone for their expertise.
Yep.
You want to trust them.
Yeah,
And they are someone I
absolutely.
worked with in the past who I had really good success with. So it wasn't like I didn't know them,
Yeah.
like them, and trust them. But I got 6 months into working with them and realized that actually that wasn't the best way forward to grow
Hmm.
my business or to scale my business. So how have you managed to grow and scale without using ads?
Hmm. Yeah.
How have you done that?
Yeah. So I will say that, I think that there is a time and place for
Mm,
ads if, at some point, because I know that, like you, I've tried ads in the past and they haven't worked. I've also tried, some ads and it has worked. But I think that the way that we approach looking at organically growing our business versus ads, I think for sure you definitely need to be at a certain place in your business where you've got the income, and I know that you had the income to invest in it for a period of time. But here's the thing: ads don't fix broken sales. So, a lot of new coaches will come in and be like, oh, well, I'm just going to do ads and that's going to fix everything. Well, if it's not working for you organically already and you don't have a marketing system that works well for you already to bring the right client into your ecosystem, if you don't have a system to actually connect with them and build relationships and nurture them and convert them, into, your paying clients,
mm,
if you don't have that organically, ads don't fix that. Ads only help to give a little bit more visibility. That's all it does, which is at the very, very top, right? So
mm,
ads are going to help you bring more people into your ecosystem. That doesn't mean that they're the right people,
yeah,
right? But if you
yeah,
don't have this middle piece, which is really what I'm such an advocate for
mhm,
around building relationships and then, being able to know, when to invite them to work with you so
yeah,
that we're actually moving them from stranger to somebody who they feel confident with to then somebody who might be willing to explore if
mhm,
they're looking for having support to actually convert into a paying
mhm,
client. If you don't have that set up and working really, really well, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at ads. It's not going to work.
yeah,
So I think the first piece was just understanding what is the role
yeah,
of an ad,
mhm,
right? An ad, and I think that there's a lot of new coaches and even people that have been in business for years that don't really
mhm,
understand this. There is a difference between attracting clients into your ecosystem, right? There's a difference between marketing and sales. There's
yeah,
these three buckets that I talk
yeah,
about,
mhm,
attraction, nurturing, and then inviting.
mhm,
And they get confused
mhm,
about what bucket the ad is actually filling,
yeah,
right? So your ad fills the attraction bucket. It doesn't fill your sales bucket.
yeah,
It's not that it never can. I mean, maybe if you're selling a product or
mhm,
something, sure. But at any time, there's only about 3% of people in our world that are ready to buy today.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what are you doing with the other 97% once they come into your ecosystem? Well, you have to nurture, you have to connect,
Yeah,
you have to build a relationship, you have to lead with value,
yeah.
right? So
So
that
you're
the
using the word, sorry, Chris, you're using the word nurture a lot there. Talk to me a little bit for someone who's never heard that word and never thought about it in a business context. We nurture our
yeah,
kids, right? We
yeah.
nurture our relationships. So what do you mean in a business context when you talk about, bringing in, attracting people in is one thing, but when you
Mhm.
say nurture, talk to me a little bit more about what that means.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. That's such a good question. It's about connecting. So again, for example, if someone downloads my freebie and says, "Hey, Chris, I would love to get your business basics checklist for 10K months." Amazing, here you go. Well, that's the first part where people who are interested in what it is that you have to share are going to raise their hands and say, "Yeah, I want that." But if we
Mhm.
just leave it there and say, "Here you go," and then we never come back around and connect with that person except to sell something, right?
Mhm.
Except to say, okay, you got my freebie. Now you're ready to buy. Now you're ready to buy, which a lot of people do, right? It's attract and convert. Well, guess what? We're missing a big piece,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So somebody is not going to build trust with you just by downloading a freebie, right? So how are you actually connecting with that person
Mhm.
after they've downloaded your freebie? It could be as simple as finding them on Facebook. If you are a Facebook user, I love Facebook because I use Facebook groups, or LinkedIn, and saying,
Mhm.
hey, hi, how are you? Thank you so
Mhm.
much for downloading the blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. Just wanted to, say hello, let you know I'm here if you have any questions.
Mhm.
Or, hey, how did that work for you? Or I
Mhm.
know life gets busy, let me know if you want, a quick call and I'm happy to walk you through that.
Mhm.
It's leading with
Mhm.
value. It's that connection piece that lets the other person actually see you as a real human and lets
Mhm.
them know that you're seeing them as a real human, not just a
Mhm.
transaction. And so
Mhm.
that's the difference. When we have that middle piece, piece, that nurture piece, that
Yeah.
connection piece, we're starting to build relationships so that our marketing becomes relational, not transactional. So
Yeah.
the attract and sell is very transactional. What do I do to get the client? What do I do to attract them and make a buy right away? And again, if only 3% are ready at any given time,
Yeah.
then you're missing 97% by not
Yeah.
continuing to connect with people and build a relationship with people.
I think I was just trying to come up with an analogy while you were talking about that. And I think it's the difference between someone sending you a bouquet of flowers and you put it in a vase with water and they die after 7 days, or someone
Yeah.
buying your pot plant that you nurture and you grow and it develops. And, you're building, I think when you take your approach, you're actually creating that longevity and that
Yeah.
fruitfulness
Yes.
from
Yes.
the growth of the plant. I'm just trying to find an analogy that works
Yeah,
here.
well, let me share one because I have a
Yeah,
really good
good.
analogy that I
Yeah.
share with my clients. So, think about, a mansion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's think of a house, right?
Yeah.
That's your offer suite. You've got maybe a high-end offer that's the top floor, the penthouse with the flowing champagne and strawberries. Maybe you've got a group program that's kind of like the pool outside in the back. Maybe you've got something else where people are gathering in the living room, right? So we've got our offer suite. From your offer suite, there's a beautiful pathway that leads to a sidewalk, but along that pathway are benches, and the benches are different benches. Maybe they're different colors. They've got flowers around them, but there's multiple benches before people get to this beautiful front porch with a porch swing or rockers, whatever you want. I'm from the South, so I love sitting on the front porch. And then we have a sidewalk that is in front of our pathway.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the definition of attracting people is when we're standing on our pathway where the benches are and just trying to get their attention to the people that are interested in the way that you can help them, right? So it's getting their attention so that they turn off the sidewalk and turn onto the pathway that leads towards your mansion. Now, if we're not giving them multiple ways to actually just have a seat and have a conversation on these benches, multiple ways, before we try to drag them into the penthouse, right? That's the difference between attraction and, transactional, right? Running out of your house to drag them off the sidewalk up into the penthouse is like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, I'm not ready for that. But yet that's what's being taught, right?
Yeah.
So really where the missing piece is, what are you doing? What are the benches that you're going to offer to give people more value? And again, that's not inviting them to work with you yet. That's giving them value. That's leading from your heart. That's connecting with them. That's, seeing where they are. And then even before we invite them into the house, right, once they've had a couple seats, and look, some people might sit at one bench and some people might sit at 10 benches. Like everybody has their own process. But before we invite them into, an offer, we invite them up on the front porch. And it's a conversation to say, how can I support you the best? What is the result that you're looking for? So that then we can actually match which one of the offers is going to be the best fit for them instead of just trying to sell the offer. Right? Again, transactional again. Relational is listening. Relational is, okay, so this is what I'm hearing you say that you want, and this is the timeline that you want it. I think that, this is going to be the fastest, quickest way for you to get the result that you desire. And so it makes so much more sense because, again, you're not convincing or persuading when you're having this conversation with somebody on your front porch. You're just listening. They feel heard. They feel safe. They feel trusted. And there's this beautiful soulful exchange that happens instead of trying to convince somebody to buy.
Yeah, I love that. And I remember the first time you used that analogy during the program, the Menopause Coach program, I was like, oh, I love that. I love that so much. It's really good. And it's because we're living in a 24/7 on world. We're being bombarded, no matter whether you use social media or not, you're being bombarded with advertising all the time. And, I noticed recently there's a particular, I'm not a handbag person, I'm a backpack person, but there was this handbag brand.
Same. I don't even own, I think I've got a wallet.
Exactly. But this handbag brand has been in my face for the last, I don't know, however many weeks, but every day it's there multiple times a day. And eventually I clicked on it. I was like, oh, how versatile is this? I've got an event coming up. It might be useful to have that big red tote bag and that might look perfect. I was like, but I don't like tote bags.
Why would I want this?
Like, why would I? So there is this kind of, you need to build that familiarity. But you need to go deeper than that. You need to build the know, the like, the trust. And, clearly I'm not going to buy that handbag and it is very beautiful. And I'm sure some other person will buy it and the sales will go through, but it won't be me. But I think, we are bombarded 24/7 and it starts getting a lot harder for us to make those decisions. And I
Mm-hmm.
find that, when I do have the final call with somebody, which is just a 10-minute check-in,
Mm-hmm.
it's what questions
Mm-hmm.
have you got? Where do you want to
Mm-hmm.
go? How can I help you get there? It's as
Yeah.
simple as that. I'm not there to persuade them. I'm not there
Mm-hmm.
to convince them.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say to people, trust your gut. You'll
Yeah.
know what's right for you. This is what I can offer. This will fit what you want to do, or I know someone
Mm-hmm.
else that can.
Yep.
And I think there's this big conception or misconception that, you're going to jump in a call with somebody, they're going to try and force it down your throat, or do this hard sell, because
Yeah.
that's what we've maybe been brought up
Yeah.
with.
That's what we've
The
been taught.
used car salesman kind of
Yeah.
thing makes me feel very icky.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
that, oh, the one conversation close, the close the deal, the get the client
Yeah.
conversation. And, I just kind of flipped the switch on that. I said, you know what, my conversation is not going to be about closing the deal. My conversation is going to be about how can I help them make the most empowered choice and decision. And if it's with
Mhm.
me, great. And if it's not with me, great. And I've had multiple, and I really do believe that this is one of the reasons why I've had success, is because people walk away from that
Mhm.
conversation, whether they said yes or no, feeling good.
Yeah.
And if now's not the right time, amazing.
Yeah.
But they will
Yeah.
come back when they're ready. And
Mhm.
they come back because they feel safe. They
Yeah.
come back because I didn't try to, persuade them
Yeah.
that, oh, if you don't take this now, like, I don't know, you're like, not going to work for you. It
Yeah.
doesn't need to be that way. We get to help them make a choice, and we
Yeah.
get to help them trust, like you said,
Yeah.
trust their gut. And there's a difference, between what I like to call a heart yes
Yeah.
versus a no,
Mm.
right? A heart yes is somebody that really, really is like, yes, I want this, I need this.
Mhm.
And I'm a little caught up in my own beliefs about whether or not this is
Mhm.
possible or how to pay for it, which is a
Yeah.
completely different conversation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if somebody is struggling or not sure about, the investment, first of all, they have to be a heart yes that they actually
Yeah.
want it
Yeah.
first, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not my job to convince them that they need me.
Yeah.
That's not my job. It's their job to
Mhm.
decide that this is the support that they want. Then
Yeah.
if they want to brainstorm ways, then
Mhm.
happy to have a different conversation. But if they're not a heart
Mhm.
yes for having the support,
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
they can't be a yes for
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
helping somebody discern, is the
Mm.
support that I want, is the
Yeah.
support that I want now? Is it the support that I want now with your help? And am I willing to take
Yeah.
a look at the different ways that, I
Yeah.
can, come up with the income to invest in the support that I know
Mhm.
that I want?
Yeah.
Is that ladder of beliefs that,
Yeah.
we all go through.
Yeah, and I think that's really important thing to distinguish as well. And so
Hmm.
one of the things was just listening to there, because I can see you're really focused, and you know what you're doing, it works, and you've helped so many people now become really successful in their own businesses. But I'm curious, when I think back to when you first started going to Well of Mercy
Hmm.
and going every quarter and taking
Hmm.
that last week of the month, or the last week of
Hmm.
the quarter out, to have that time to download, to get creative. Talk to me a little bit about how you decided to do that, how you blended having children,
Children.
five
Yeah.
children, how you blended, the blended family, the various personalities and stages of life that they were all at, the demands that that has of you as well. How
Yeah.
did you manage and juggle all of that whilst you were building this business?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had to breathe for a minute thinking about when we had all of the kids here. Now we just have one left, and he's actually at college, so it's quite the difference now.
Mhm.
I think I approached it from the perspective of, I love my family. And in order for me to be the best mom and build my business, I also needed to take care of me. And
Mhm.
so, what were the things that I needed to allow me to be full, instead of waiting for everybody else's needs to be taken care of first and then giving myself the leftovers? And,
Mhm.
the Well of Mercy has been something that I've been doing for, gosh, 25 years. Even when I was
Mm.
a stay-at-home mom, homeschooling the kids, I needed time away because, again, when I was homeschooling my kids when they were smaller, being with them 24/7 is a lot. And it's a lot. I needed a time to get away, or a time to think, or a time to plan. And so, I started that quarterly,
Right.
back then. And so I continued it when we blended the family. And because I knew that that was a non-negotiable for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think the key here is getting clear on what are the non-negotiables
Mm-hmm.
that you need to
Mm-hmm.
be fully sourced,
Yeah.
right? Because if we're not fully sourced,
Mm-hmm.
our business isn't going to grow. Our family's not going to thrive. We're not going to thrive. We're going to be resentful on one front, whether we're resentful for the business or resentful for the spouse asking us to do the thing or the kids or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when we have our non-negotiables in, and that is just a non-negotiable for me,
Yeah.
then it's a lot easier to actually say, no, this is the way that this is going to work.
Yeah.
I'm going to plan my life first and what it is that I need to, have those non-negotiables. And then the business component comes in around that. So I just made the decision early on that the last week of every month, I don't have any forward facing calls.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I'm not doing something, it's not like I'm just hanging out,
If
online,
only, right?
but I give myself that break to decide to put kind of like the creative visionary hat on and say, what do I want to do with this week? Do I want to, go back and look through another training that I'm working through with my business coach? Do I want to go away and go for a hike in the mountains so that I can, be in the energy of possibility and creativity? Do I want to create something? So that last week of the month has actually benefited me so well.
Yeah.
And my clients really like it too, because it gives them permission to say, oh, I didn't even know I could do that in my business model. I want to do that too. Like, how amazing would that be? And the people that are in the programs have that week to integrate, to go back, to catch up on trainings, or maybe they just need to take some time off too, right?
Yeah.
So there's that week that's factored in all of my programs, but it's something that has been so beneficial for me in my life and in my business.
I just remember a conversation way back in the early days now. It just came right back into my mind there, whereby we were talking about when we're available for our clients.
Yeah.
And I remember back then I was like, I'll work evenings, I'll weekends, I'll work early mornings because I'm working with corporates and I need to work around them. And it took me a while before I switched that around and decided, no, these are my working hours and this is when I'm available. And actually that goes right back to the boundaries and the responsibilities piece, doesn't it? And it's so important that we set things up to work for us, because it's that extra authentic step towards attracting the right people for us to work with and being in the right space. And I think your practice of doing that every quarter and having the last week every month is so powerful. It was such a great example for me as well. So I've definitely integrated part of it. I'm not as good and not as thorough as you yet at that.
And sometimes, the other piece too is I love to teach, right? So I do nurture events. Once a quarter, I have a multi-day nurture event that I do. And I plan it specifically during that fourth week of the month within that quarter, because there's spaciousness there. Because I don't have to run from a client call or a program call into a training. And so it's intentional, while that just happens to be during that quarter, that's what I'm going to be doing. But it allows me to really take good care of me, because I know that, look, during the day, what do I want to do? Go for a walk, relax, make sure I have enough water, make sure I get fed. My husband knows he's on dinner duty, so, it creates spaciousness so I can be in the energy of full service and giving mode and teaching mode, which I love to do. During that week. So, and, I used to try to like add it on top of everything, like at the end of the day, like 7:00. And I'm like, oh, I'm a hell no for that now, because I was so darn exhausted that, it would take me a week to recover. And I'm like, there's got to be a different way. So, I just decided that, no, you know what, I'm going to do this so that I also have plenty of time to create the spaciousness that I need.
Yeah. So looking at the people we work with, I'm working with people who want to support someone going through menopause. And many of my people will come over and work with you after they've completed the program with me, which is a really great thing because it's two different skill sets. One of the other things that I notice is that a lot of people will go off and they'll build their businesses, they'll do it on their own, which is fine. We've got our own ways of doing things, and they'll easily kind of get those first few clients in, and then they get really busy with the client that they take their foot off the pedal with the sales and the marketing and the attraction nurturing and the whole bit. And then they're like, oh, now what? And
Yeah.
then, so they have this kind of really bumpy ride for the first 2 or 3 years before they think,
Yeah.
right, I'm going to go and get help and support. And the other thing that I often see is people will be able to earn 20, 30, 40, 50, $60,000, pounds, whatever, and then they get stuck. So what do you
Mhm.
think are the kind of biggest obstacles to someone hitting that first 6-figure year?
Mhm.
What do you think the key
Yeah.
things are that get in their way?
Yeah, I think the key things, there's two things that I think about, when you ask me this question. One is definitely making sure that you've got the continuous daily habit of attract, nurture, and invite.
Yeah.
Because in full transparency, we should be able to be making sales in our business on a daily basis. It doesn't have to be just when you are doing a nurture event or just when you're doing a launch.
Yeah.
There's ways, if we are bringing new people in, connecting with them and nurturing them, then throughout the year, there's going to be different people that are in different buckets that are ready to say, yes, now I'm ready to work with you. So keeping that, it's a golden hour that I actually have, teach to my clients and that I do in my business. So every day I'm doing something in each one of those buckets, Monday through Friday. So I know that for an hour every single day, I'm moving my business forward and I'm focusing on the needle movers, right? Versus here's where people get stuck chasing the next tactic. Right. Oh, there's got to be, the one silver bullet, the next bright, shiny tactic that I saw so-and-so teach, and that must be working better. So that's definitely one place, where people just, not only do they take their foot off the pedal, but they chase something different because they think before they actually have this, working well, because they think it's going to be quicker, easier, better. And it's not. And they find that out. And then we get to come back to simple. So overcomplicating it by chasing bright, shiny tactics is one place they get stuck. Another place they get stuck is they begin to implement pieces in their business that they're not ready for. So whether it's a membership or a course or something which they think, okay, well, now that I have some clients, let me just do this membership. Let me just do this course because then I'll just be able to make money in my sleep, right? Well, what they don't remember, right? We've been there, done
Sorry,
that too, by the
I've got a
way.
lot I can say about that. Yes.
Is it still requires time and energy to grow the right audience for that lower ticket item. And so it's not like, oh, if I build it, they will come. And it's only $97 or it's only a $47 membership. So surely everybody's going to want it. No, it doesn't happen. And there's a lot of time and energy. Again, you can sell 10 $47 offers, right? Make $470, or you can sell 10 $4,000 offers and make $40,000 off. The energy is going to be the same. So again, there's a time and place for that. But unless you've got time and energy to fund that investment behind making sure that you're getting in front of a bigger quantity of people, which is really, really key. Again, most people forget that, all right, if you want to sell 10, how many people do you need to get in front of? Right. So if you're only getting in front of this number of people that you normally would for a $4,000 offer, you're not making any income in it on a lower ticket offer. So you've got to fund that in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think people often see the lower ticket as an easier sell, and
it's not.
So it's actually sometimes the exact opposite.
Oh my gosh, I'm totally there with you. It's a lot harder to sell for me, at least in my experience over the years. It's been a lot harder to sell $97 offers than it has to sell, 10 high ticket offers.
I suspect I'm going to have you back on for part 2 because we could talk for hours. So tell me, Chris, you've grown consistently over the years and you've looked after your family, you've looked after yourself. What's been the very best thing about growing your business to the point that it's at now? What was the best thing for you that's happened as a result of that?
Gosh, I think that the best thing for me is a couple things. Number one, it feels really good that my business is helping others, that I feel purposeful, that there's meaning behind it, right? So I think we all look for having purpose and meaning in our life. And it feels really good to be at the place where I can decide, is this where I want to be? I can stay here. Do I want to go here? Like just making the decisions on, what are the best ways that I feel that I want to be, purposeful and in my business and meaningful there. And then the other piece is coming back to my own financial independence and knowing that no matter what, I've got something that is going to, take care of me and take care of my children, where I've been able to put 3 kids through college without needing to take out loans. I've been able to take them on trips and really give back. And help them build and grow, stabilize in their lives, and also give back, for my business to other women who might, need some support too. So it's this beautiful circle that I see, that when we allow ourselves to thrive abundantly, it allows us to give more, whether it's in energy, whether it's in finances, whether it's in, trips. I got to take my kids to France, where you and I got to meet, and let them experience Paris and Iceland, and, go on trips with them that give them these beautiful cultural experiences, and do the same with my husband as well. And
I'm glad he's involved. I'm glad he's part of that.
Yeah. It's this place where I feel really great to be able to share the wealth, share the abundance with.
Tell me, is that your definition of abundance then?
Yeah, I think abundance for me is feeling like all of my needs are met and that there's overflow to share.
Beautiful. Chris, thank you so much for your time today. I definitely think there's a part 2. There's so many more questions I'd like to ask you, and there's a lot more I'm sure you'd love to share. Are there any closing comments, thoughts, or takeaways that you would like to make before we wrap up?
I think I just want to kind of leave with, if it is on your heart as an entrepreneur, and it wouldn't be on your heart if you weren't meant for it, instead of leaning out or tapping out, lean in. Find the people that you resonate with, because there are people out there that you resonate with. Find the person that you want to learn their method of building and growing your business. Because if you find the way that works for you and find the way that lights you up, you're going to be successful. If you're only trying to copycat a tactic or something out there, it's not necessarily going to be sustainable. You're not necessarily going to love it, and it might not actually work for you. But if you, again, resonate with somebody, like their method of building and growing, learn from them, ask questions, lean into that piece, and know that you're meant to be here and do this. Otherwise it wouldn't be on your heart.
Beautiful. Chris, thank you so much. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me on Women of a Certain Stage. I hope today's episode inspired you to think differently about menopause and the incredible opportunities this stage of life brings. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with 3 friends who need to hear this message. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps us reach even more people. You can connect with me on LinkedIn at Lauren Turin, or visit our website at womenofacertainstage.com to learn more about menopause coaching, inspiring events, and corporate training. Until next time, let's continue making a difference, one conversation at a time.